Your indices in positive territory. The Dow just shot up 36. Oil is getting clobbered. It's down 2.5%. That's good news for us, by the way, at the pump. The interesting part is nobody's really sure why. Now, there was some talk yesterday that it was primarily due to the possibility of a release in the strategic reserves. You heard me talk about that yesterday, so I won't talk about it again today. But it is likely to happen if we don't see some sort of movement in gasoline on the downside. Now, we're getting inventory reports that would not give any reason to make any kind of release out of the strategic reserves in this nation. So if there is a release, it's going to be 100% purely political in order to drive gasoline prices down for about 2 weeks, if that. That's about all it'll be. But nevertheless, the strategic reserves, by the way, is for in cases of national defense. That's why it was established. That is the reason for it. It should not be released. George Bush should have never had a release. This president should never have had a release for the times that he has already done it. It's not for that purpose. This is not so you can win votes. Last time I checked, that's not what it was for. All the major indices in positive territory. Commodities seem to be seeing some downward pressure. This is only 1 day, but nevertheless, some pressure on the downward side. So I'm not going to say, well, the threat of inflation is over. Threat of inflation is never going to be over as long as the Federal Reserve continues to trash the dollar. Pew Research Center finds that the median income is worse now than during the Great Depression. According to the Pew Census Bureau, showed that the median income for households in 2009, it's comparing 2009, the official end of the recession, that's funny, was $52,195 in 2011 dollars. Okay, so that's what it was, $52,000. It is now $50,000, $50,054 last year, falling 4.1% over 2 years. Now, this is during the recovery, folks. This is during the recovery period. In other words, the recovery began in 2009. Okay, that was the official end of the recession. The median income at the start of the recovery, the so-called recovery, was $52,195. At the end of last year, well into the so-called recovery, the median income is now $50,054, down 4.1%. So wait a minute, if you're in a recovery, is that supposed to happen? No. Worst case scenario in a recovery is that it would stay the same. But to decrease 4.1%, as a matter of fact, according to the Pew Research, it is worse or at best equal to the time period during the Great Recession. During the Great Recession is at least equal to what had happened during the Depression. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Poverty rate rose from 12.5% in 2007 to 15% by the end of last year. Median household wealth fell 39%. Now, you can't place a lot of anything on that number because a lot of that's primarily due to the dramatic fall in people's house equity in their homes, because that made up a huge portion of one's household income. But nevertheless, a 39% drop. The poverty rate and this change in median household wealth over this 3-year span of 2007. In 2007, it was $131,000 per household. In 2010, it was $79,000. That's huge, bigger than any other time in the nation's history. It is incredible that every news pundit in the country, mainstream and conservative, still uses the word recovery If it is, it's something out of the Twilight Zone. It's a joke. It is nothing more than smoke and mirrors and deception. And I can't believe that people, when they go to the polls on November 6th, will not have an opportunity to properly think through, because they're not hearing it enough, to properly think through the fact that the poverty rate is going up, the median income of a family has gone down, the unemployment rate has gone up, the wealth per family has gone down, and we have fewer people in the workforce than we've had in the last 31 years. But they won't be thinking about that when they go to the polls, because they're not hearing anything about it. Anyway, 888-589-8840. I want to talk a little bit about something that I've never talked about, and I'm going to do that.